What's up, y'all? Welcome to City Church. So good to see you guys. Welcome to a new year, 2023. I'm Pastor John. I'm here with Pastor Andrew.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, and we wanted to sit down and
Yeah.
get your new year started right.
Yep.
And kick it off doing the right things, thinking about the right things, because the new year is a time when everybody is thinking about like making themselves better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
The new year is a time for new things, and we think, hey, this is the year that I wanna do X, Y, or Z. That's why we make New Year's resolutions, right?
Yep. Every year.
I have a question for you.
All right.
What is your worst New Year's resolution?
Oh, gosh. All right. You can't laugh at me.
I will.
Oh, you can.
I will.
You can, yeah.
I will.
Okay. So I don't read a lot.
Okay.
So I thought that a great New Year's resolution, I don't remember, it was sometime in high school, was to read 100 books in the year. I went for it. And I'm pretty sure I read a book and a half.
Yeah.
And the half was a picture book that I read while I got bored of the other
That's a pediatrician. Yeah.
Can we include that one in there? Yeah, that's
Okay. Here's what I like about that story. There's a lot of things I like.
yeah.
You were in high school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
already reading stuff in high school.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're
Yes.
like, you got books, you got
Yeah.
textbooks, you
We're
got your
supposed to
English
be
class.
reading stuff.
You're supposed to be reading stuff,
Yes.
not Cliff Notes
Not.
in high school.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm going to go, because I'm assuming that if you read a book and a half, like the previous year, we're talking you maybe
Yeah.
read 3-4 books, maybe.
Yeah.
Or 0.
I don't probably closer to 0.
But you're
yeah,
literally going from 0 to 100.
100%.
To be like, you know what,
Yes.
I'm going to read 100 books.
Well,
and just...
And like this was the time where like a lot of people started posting things on their stories about like I read this book this month and like all of the things, and I was like, if they did it, and I'm doing the math, like it takes me this long to read a book.
Sure.
So I thought that I could do that as my first goal.
That's
But
2 books a week.
see, that doesn't sound horrible. 2023, baby.
I wish I had the optimism to go, 2 books a week doesn't sound bad. 2 books a week sounds impossible.
Yeah, I mean,
But I get it. Like, you're young,
2 books.
you're
It's out there.
you're very energetic, and you're very optimistic about what you're able to achieve, and you're just like, moving forward. I got
Let's go,
this.
100.
I appreciate it. So we laugh at Andrew.
Yeah.
But I myself am no stranger to bad New
Okay,
Year's
yeah.
resolutions. Like most of my New Year's resolutions, though, are like many people's New Year's resolutions of, this is the year that I'm going to get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
This is the year that I'm going to work out more. This is the year that I'm going to get my eating right.
Yeah.
This is the year that I'm going to do all that. And every time I've been like, you know what? I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this year.
Yeah.
3 times a week. 3
Yeah,
times,
3 times
a year.
Yes.
That's doable.
You can,
See, 3 times
that's
a year is a
good goal.
realistic goal.
Yeah.
But 3 times a
Just
week
3.
is not realistic when you're going from 0
Yeah.
to nothing. Like if you don't have it in the rhythm to go to the gym,
Yes.
it's a lot harder to do it. And so we're not here to discourage you.
No,
Make
not at all.
New Year's resolutions.
Do it.
Make yourself better. That's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful to be able to do that. We're just laughing a little bit in
Yeah.
the sense that we've all made some bad resolutions. Like, think about some of the bad resolutions you've made.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you might have some out there. But we're not to mock them, but
Put in the comments too if you want.
Put it in the comments
too. We would love to see
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
But we're just at a place where we're going, okay, this is a time where we want to change.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do it in a misguided way
Yes.
or a difficult way. And so as we think about what people have been going through, we're going from 2022 to 2023.
Mm-hmm.
You're a youth pastor, you're a young man, you're interacting with the people. Where are people right now?
Yeah. I think like the first thing that comes to mind is like when you hit the refresh button. Like I think we kind of just want to hit that button, reset things. We know how things have been. Like let's I will say that there's some optimism.
Right.
Like there's just some like 2023. I mean, I don't think I've seen too many posts yet about how bad the next year is going to be. I feel like that's all I saw last year, like in like November. Already. I'm just like, well, what's going to hit? Come out.
Totally.
But I think that there's like, okay, like let's recalibrate, refresh, and kind of get into it.
Yeah,
So.
there's more optimism for 2023 versus the last few years when it seems like I'm still processing March 2022.
Yes.
People have felt, and I do think people are moving towards looking forward versus looking back. And I think it's hard because there's obviously still some stuff to process.
Oh, yeah.
There's still some stuff to do about the past, but it's certain that some people are looking forward. Some people are kind of looking back. And I think folks that are looking forward are at a place where they're ready to just like, let's take on the future. Let's like slay this dragon and let's kind of move it. But I do think there's a number of people that are still out there that are like, I'm still processing the last few years because it has been a hard
like slow down. Like
it's been difficult for a lot of reasons. And so one of the things that we've talked about is that everybody has kind of lost something.
Yeah.
And so no matter how old you are, no matter what's happened, you might know somebody who's gotten sick. You might know somebody who's passed away. You might have lost a graduation, or you've lost a job, or you've lost an opportunity, all of those things. And so there are a number of people who are kind of looking back. And so one of the things that Andrew and I want to kind of explore today is just for people looking back, like what do you do now, right? And people looking forward, how do you handle that?
Yes.
And so there's something really big that I wanted to share that I learned in 2022 that was hugely significant. And it's that life is seasonal. Okay, life is seasonal, meaning it has seasons, but that's not usually what we're taught. Kind of in our Western American culture, everything is supposed to be successful all the time, and it's always supposed to be moving forward. Up and to the right is a phrase that's used in the business world a lot, and it means everything has always got to be successful. So let me draw a little chart.
Bringing out the drawings.
And so everything is supposed to be up and to the right? So like everything is supposed to be going in this direction, up and to the right, because profit's got to go up,
good,
right? Everything's got to go up. The quality's got to go up. We need more, and it needs to be better. And so that up and to the right culture that we kind of ascribe to, we think our lives should be like that. It should always be up and to the right, which means every year things should be getting better, and we should be getting better, and our family should be getting better, and everything should be getting better. And even if we don't know it, we've kind of subconsciously embraced this thinking. And so I don't know that everybody sitting there is thinking, oh yeah, I think like that. But I think there's something in you, especially if you're an American watching this, where everything is supposed to always be getting better like that. And that makes New Year's kind of a difficult time, because you got to go, okay, well, I got to do better than last year, right? And it makes us go, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times, or I'm going to read 100 books. But life is seasonal. And the same way we have winter, spring, summer, fall, we have different seasons of life. And there's a book in the Jewish scripture called Ecclesiastes, and it's written by a very wise author. They call him the teacher. Many people believe it's Solomon, who is the son of King David, who's a prominent figure in the Jewish scriptures. But it reflects on this idea that there are seasons. In Ecclesiastes 3, the teacher writes this: there's a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. Life has seasons. There's a time for everything. Nothing is ever all good or all bad, and there's no perfection. You know that, right? Like, even as a young, naive, potentially
I like how you're like, no perfection, Andrew?
Andrew, you're right. There's no perfection, right, Andrew? You can affirm that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But life is not always just up and to the right. And for many of us, we've been taught that if we're this is an important part of that. If we have this mindset of life is up and to the right, so many of us have been taught this about God, and that if our life is not getting better, if our life is not going up and to the right, then God is punishing us.
Or there's an issue with you and God.
Then if things aren't going well, if you're struggling, then it's kind of your fault or your sin. And while sometimes it can be our fault, some of the predicaments that we're in, I just want to make sure you know that just because you're in a season of loss or a season of difficulty, it doesn't mean that God is punishing you. That's important.
Or that he's left you.
You. What I want to say is that everything has a season. There's going to be a season of everything, and we're all in those different seasons. Some of us are looking forward and are more excited about 2023, like we talked about. But for many of us, we're looking back at this year and thinking about what we lost. We're grieving. 2022 has been really tough because it's about grief. And in this case, grief is about feeling the emotion and processing what we've lost in our lives. So I want to ask, what have you lost this year? What have you lost this year? For some of us, we lost a job. For some of us, we might have lost an opportunity. For some of us, we might have lost a friend, a dream. And as you get into the relational piece, some of us might have felt like we lost our family. We might have lost a spouse. And for even more of us, some of us have even had to mourn the death of someone that we love. And so there's been a lot of grief in this year. I'm sure you see it with we see it with folks that are adults that are already, I'm sure you see it with you.
Oh, all the time.
There's been a lot of loss. And if grief has defined your 2022 and you're still feeling that loss, I have an encouragement from Ecclesiastes as well. Because I don't want to just leave it on a bummer, right? There's a time for everything. So suck it up, right? Like that's not what I'm trying to say. This is what the teacher writes in Ecclesiastes. God has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end.
Wow.
And I know that might feel like that's hard to believe now, but God will make everything beautiful in his time. That doesn't mean that everything you've lost is going to be restored. It doesn't mean that you don't have to process the feelings around the loss that you felt. It doesn't even mean everything is going to be up and to the right now in your life. That's not what it's saying, but it does mean that your grief can lead to something beautiful. Sometimes something far beyond what you or I can imagine might be happening because we can't see everything that God can see. It's kind of like how manure, right? This is right. It's kind of like how manure can fertilize the soil in our lives.
Wow. Yeah.
And sometimes from that manure, from that fertilizer, a beautiful plant can grow. The grief in our lives can be a fertile soil for something beautiful to grow out of our lives.
Wow.
And just like everything else, life is seasonal and plants are seasonal, right? They blossom and they die. Trees bear fruit and they're barren. God will make everything beautiful, and God has made everything beautiful in his time.
Wow.
And so that's what I feel like I've learned from 2022 because, man, 2022 has been a season of grief, largely for me and for many of the people around me.
Our community.
Yeah, our community. 2022 has been a tough year. And so I feel like that's a little bit of what I've learned. And so, Andrew, what would you like people to believe for 2023?
Yeah. And I think so often we look forward to the things that we're getting ready to do, right? I mean, like obviously, right? But what if we look forward to who God already is, right? Instead of just looking forward to our expectations, we look at who God is.
Well, because like if we're looking forward to just our expectations, man, things might get real messed up real fast.
Yes, when you don't read 100 books.
When you don't read 100 books, when you don't go to the gym 3 or 4 times, when you don't, like, it can really mess us up for the year. And by February, you're already like, well, I've failed.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, man, I haven't lost the weight. Yeah. I haven't read the books. I haven't quit smoking. I haven't stopped the thing. So I've failed. Yes. And so part of what your encouragement is about something that you can count on.
Yes, 100%. And I wish that was something that I made up, but I get it from this guy named David, right? We talk about David, who I think if there's someone in the scriptures who had experience with challenging times, but also good times.
Right.
Like literally, we know David of Goliath. Yeah. He was the king. He was literally running from one of his sons who was trying to kill him.
He's seen it all. Like he's seen the highs and the lows.
He has definitely seen it all and experienced it. Well, he writes a good amount of the Psalms, which I like to think of them kind of like diaries.
Yeah.
Like, because you get an inside scoop of what he's going through. Right. And he says something that's so significant in Psalm 27. He says that the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? I think we need to take a breath, pause after that.
That's significant.
He didn't list all of the things he needed from God. He didn't list all of his troubles. But he listed and declared his belief in who God is, right? And who God is and what he has done. And there's 3 words there that are super significant. And I think can kind of help us moving into 2023 if we believe this. And the first one is light, right? Fun fact, right? Fun fact. There's any fun fact music, right? Fun fact is that some actually believe that this is the first time that God was compared to light.
Oh.
And
that's cool.
Debate it if you want.
Yeah.
But which is significant because what that means, what light means here is just a joy and a comfort, right? It's a joy and a comfort. I lost my notes. Had to fix
okay.
that.
You're good.
Got scrambled a little bit over there. No, it just means a joy and a comfort of what you are going through, right? Of what happens through God, right? That there is light, that there is joy, that there is peace, that there is comfort through God, because that's who he is. And then he also says salvation. And I think we hear salvation and we think about like eternal life and all these things, but it's used in different contexts throughout the Jewish and the Christian scriptures. And here it means a literal physical being saved from something.
Well, right. And for David, that was significant. Like you listed, a lot of times what he's asking for salvation from is physical circumstances.
Yes. Like literally I'm being chased and someone wants to kill me type of thing. Crazy stuff. So here he lists that he is our salvation. It is a protection that produces freedom from a present danger. So David is literally saying that God is a protection from the current circumstances and danger that is going on. And I love that because he shows that God is constantly there, that God can and does show up. Right. So he voices that faith and belief in him. And then this word stronghold, man, I'm about to fall back.
Come on.
This is such a powerful word. Stronghold means just a place of refuge, a temple, comfort. Okay, you played tag before?
Yeah, because stronghold isn't a word that like everybody, like we don't use it in everyday conversation. We're not like, I must retreat to my stronghold.
You're
like,
not.
That's not what we say.
It's not. So this is how I think of it. Like, have you played tag before?
Yeah, I love tag.
Okay, we actually just played. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, like you love tag. Adults, kids play tag. It's always funny, like watching kids play tag because there's always base, right?
Sure.
And base is usually never planned before the game starts. It's never. It's never like, here's the map of our field, and this is base. I mean, some kids really. I feel like that'd be your kids playing.
Well,
like they'd be like, "This is."
My eldest is a little more planned out, but
he'd have a map of the.
But usually it is because it is needed. At a point, and
because as fun of a game as tag is, whenever someone's chasing you, there's a bit of fear that comes inside of you. So your first response is to retreat to a base.
Right.
That is kind of course, not the exact same context, but that is what we're saying here is stronghold.
It's pretty similar, right?
It's like a base.
You're looking for salvation from something that's an imminent threat or danger.
Yes. There's fear, there's danger, but God is the stronghold. He's like base. There is safety. And there's something about just being on base. It's like you can let your guard down. You can relax a little. You can move forward. So knowing that he is our light, which is just the joy and the comfort, and then salvation literally can deliver us from things. And then just our stronghold, like that is constantly there. You know, all the things that are changing and not constant, having God there as our stronghold, as a constant.
God is our home base.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Put that, say that in the comments.
God is our home base.
God is our home base, and he will never leave. And I love how David ends this one verse as he says, "Of whom shall I be afraid?" So he's declared who God is based off his character, based off of what he's seen. And he says, now come at me. Like who should be afraid? And I love that so much because he's proclaiming his belief in who God is as he's moving forward in a challenging time.
Right.
And that is so important because if we can believe about who God is, his character is, then this next year, I'm not saying it's going to be easy.
Sure.
But there's going to be a comfort that comes in that won't leave through this next season by knowing he is our light, by knowing he's our salvation, and by knowing he's a stronghold of our life.
Yeah.
Right? Who shall be afraid?
There's so little to count on in such chaotic times. One of the things that we can agree is that the last few years, whether it's been good for you, bad for you, whatever, it's been chaotic.
Yes.
It's been incredibly chaotic. And so you're pointing to something that is unchanging in a world where everything is changing.
Yes.
And that is something that we can count on in 2023. We can count on a God that's light, that's our salvation, and that's our stronghold. That's our home base. Yep. So if you feel like life is a game of tag right now, and you're just running around, because kids do it when they get tired. Right? And they're tired because tag is a constant game. It's not like a clock where you're going, okay, at the end of the first quarter, it's like you're just running and running and running.
That's why whenever I got tagged, I was done. I was like, game's over. I enjoy. Because there's always that one kid that everyone knew they could tag that kid because they would. I was bigger. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what.
Yeah. Okay. But God can be our home base.
Yes.
Where if you feel like life is a game of tag, where you're running around and there's just a bunch of stuff chasing you, and you don't know what is going to happen because, as I was talking about, life is seasonal. You can't control your circumstances.
Yeah.
So no matter what your circumstances are, you can count on God as your stronghold and your home base. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And so as you're looking at this year, God is a light. God is salvation. God is your stronghold. Something that you can absolutely count on. That you can absolutely count on.